The de minimis exemption, it is no more as of a Friday. Tell us what the impact that you're expecting to see across this, not just the shipping sector, but across the supply chains. What's it going to do?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty significant development that of all the trade policies that the Trump administration has tried to push for, this one, I think, makes complete sense for them to eliminate the de minimis exemption. Effectively, this was a way for companies to bypass tariffs that are put on U.S. retailers and U.S. wholesalers. And so it makes complete sense for the administration to basically eliminate that. It will mean, in some cases, higher prices for consumers on some of these, particularly Chinese e-commerce discounters that were taking advantage of the loophole. This would be the Temu and Shein's of the world that were effectively under the de minimis exemption and were able to sort of zone skip across the border and not be subject to tariffs. But for U.S. retailers, it's been an enormous drag on their operations because it has enabled Chinese companies and companies not based in the United States to offer significantly discounted items, almost direct to factory kind of pricing that undercuts the entire U.S. merchant system.
So this is not only just targeting China now, this is the rest of the world that has to no longer gets this de minimis exemption. We've seen shipping companies, or I should say delivery companies, UPS, FedEx, DHL, they've had to raise processing fees. DHL on their part is outright pausing shipments to the United States for the time being. In terms of the impact to the consumer, how would you say?
Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, it's going to impact it. I mean, one thing to keep in mind is that a lot of this was Chinese companies that may have located in the earlier report in Mexico and in Canada. And so a lot of companies were, it wasn't just a situation where you can just shut it off out of China. What was happening is these supply chains are global, and companies were able to move their sourcing, or where it would come into the United States, originating into the United States in other countries. So effectively, what was happening was it was just a great way for e-commerce, particularly in the e-commerce environment, to effectively undercut any attempts at tariffs. Now, look, the whole trade war has been massive chaos for the entire U.S. economy. It has created an enormous amount of pressure and volatility, and frankly, a lot of doubt. But the de minimis exemption, if you're going to have trade policy and tariffs on U.S. companies that when they're bringing in products in bulk, to me, it always made sense that you would eliminate this so that you didn't create this sort of perverse playing field for companies, e-commerce companies that are not based in the United States to sort of have massive advantages. It does, I mean, one of the sort of crazy stats about this, particularly in things like fast fashion, is that a large percent, as much as 20% of the overall postal volume that was in parcels actually were items that were under the de minimis exemption. So it will be a significant impact to postal volumes, to parcel volumes. You can expect FedEx, DHL, and UPS to see some impact because products will be shipped. It does advantage the larger big box retailers because they no longer have to compete with significant discounts from these e-commerce discounters that are not based in the United States. But it also will mean likely less volume for U.S. parcel companies and global parcel companies that were effectively shipping these goods. One point of just reference is that the U.S. Postal Service was losing money on these parcel shipments that were under the de minimis exemption. And so it's sort of interesting that in many ways, the U.S. Postal Service was subsidizing when that network was used, was subsidizing significant discounts to U.S. consumers that will likely go away. So we will see higher prices in some product categories because the pressure of competition is certainly minimized here. But largely what I think this means for U.S. retailers is it means that they have a sort of a more level playing field of which they can compete.
Now, I'm looking at a staggering figure here, 4 million de minimis packages processed every day. I'm curious to know, well, what your assumption is, expectations in terms of the customs bottleneck and the overwhelming formal entry requirements, what will be needed for actually packages that do enter the United States now.
Yeah, it certainly will slow things down. I mean, it's been really this whole year with tariff changes and some uncertainty and Liberation Day. It's been chaos. I would expect this to continue and something. I mean, we had chaos earlier this year where the de minimis exemption, specifically on China, Hong Kong, was removed, and then it was added back because, frankly, the U.S. Postal Service and U.S. Customs couldn't process the packages and couldn't figure out how to actually charge properly for them or document them. So it's going to be chaos. It's going to be an impact. I think the timing is interesting because we are headed, we're sort of on the cusp of where peak season is about to start here in about 2 months. So hopefully U.S. Customs can, get their act together and is properly resourced to manage it because, this is a situation where the de minimis exemption went from $200 for parcel items to $800, and it certainly is a pretty significant change because so many of those items were under that $800 mark. But I do think, this is a step. It's something that has been well predicted and well expected. The administration has been very transparent about their desire to do this. U.S. retailers have been wanting this because for them, it has been an unfair playing field. And you can see it in earnings of U.S. public companies and U.S. public retailers, particularly discount retailers, have really faced a lot of competition over the last couple of years.